Welcome to Ordinary Teachers and Students. These bonus episodes, 1, 2, 3, 4 teachers, are concepts or ideas, mostly from psychology, that I feel will benefit teachers. Rather than giving you a 90-minute lecture about them, I thought a bite-sized episode like this would be more suited for busy teachers like you. My name is Alan Cheng, and I'm a life coach and university lecturer. My vision is to make life coaching a part of every school. Hello, so after discussing how to eat well in episode 23, today's episode is about sleeping well. But a word of warning first, this podcast is simply one where I share opinions on how I try to sleep well, so it's not meant to replace professional advice from a sleep scientist or a doctor. Right, in terms of some background information about sleeping well, so I just wanted to tell you that I've been waking up at 5 o'clock-ish for around 10 years now. So I remember I read a blog about it back in the day, and I was also in the process of kind of searching for more time. So I think I was studying a master's degree at the time, and I just needed more time in the day. And so I thought, it'd be a good idea to wake up earlier and to get more done. Because, I've always thought that I was a morning person. So I've tried taking work home to do and then falling asleep while doing that. And so that's kind of the background information. I generally try to sleep around 7 hours per night. I get pretty sound sleep, though I do sleep quite badly, like in hotels or on planes, or when I've got something really important coming up, like maybe a job interview or an important football match, for example. So that's the background information about me and how I sleep. In terms of two things to remember about sleeping well, so I guess the first thing would be what sleep is. So just a simple description is to tell you that sleep is divided into cycles that last about 90 to 120 minutes each. So within each cycle, it includes non-REM, so REM is rapid eye movement sleep, and then followed by a period of REM sleep, so rapid eye movement sleep. So normally, as the night progresses, the amount of REM sleep we get will increase, while the periods of non-REM sleep will decrease. And the reason that's important is because during REM sleep, so the one that we get more of towards the latter part of the night, so during REM sleep, the brain is processing and integrating emotional experiences. So basically, it helps to reduce intensity of emotions and helps us to have better emotional stability and resilience. In a real world context, it basically means if you're going through like a really stressful or emotional period in your life, having a good night's sleep would help you a lot. Conversely, if you don't sleep well, your emotions and stress are likely to worsen even more. So that's the first part, emotional stability. The second part of sleeping well is that there are plenty of other benefits. So enhanced cognitive function, so like memory and learning, problem-solving creativity, physical health, mental health, and also long-term health. So protecting against things like diabetes, and particularly actually the protection of the brain against diseases like Alzheimer's and also dementia. I guess like most people, I always thought that dementia was an old person's thing. But in the past year or so I read like various sources suggesting that dementia actually starts much earlier than many people realize. And actually it's around the 30s to 40s. And the first stage of dementia is when there's no concrete symptoms. So it could be like just poor memory, but the damage to the brain is already there. Of course, there are lots of other lifestyle factors that can accelerate dementia. But if we just focus on sleep or like the lack of, it's something that we can clearly do something about. And it's what made me care so much about my sleep suddenly. Having said these two things, I must also caveat that with saying that I am definitely not an expert on sleep. And the real expert is someone called Matthew Walker. So I've been following his work for a while now. Matthew Walker, he has many different YouTube videos or podcasts about how to sleep well and just the science behind sleeping. So I'll include a few podcast episode links in the show notes. And so I definitely highly recommend that if you want to take an even deeper dive into this topic, take a look at Matthew Walker's work. But the three things that I've changed recently, I would say the first one is waking up at the same time at the weekend. Yeah, I know this sounds pretty terrible to most people. So given that I said I wake up at 5, it means that now I also wake up at 5-ish on Saturdays and Sundays. I mean, I used to be the type where, okay, I work during the week, so the weekend's my time to catch up on sleep. But I also noticed, I mean, although I did kind of have a lie-in on Saturdays and Sundays, I did also notice that I tended to wake up quite early anyway on Saturdays. And also, I would normally have a pretty poor night of sleep on Sunday evening. So I'll be like tossing and turning because I would normally go to bed later on Fridays and Saturdays. Therefore, when on Sunday evening, like when I'm trying to sleep, I'm kind of wide awake and thinking, oh, I can't sleep, but I need to sleep because I've got work tomorrow. And then I wake up feeling really bad on Mondays. So right now, my sleep pattern is that I generally go to bed at 9:30, 10-ish, and I'll wake up 5:15-ish. And I do that even at the weekends. And actually, I feel much better at doing that, even though it does sound like a really terrible thing to do. The second thing that I've changed recently is not having any caffeinated drinks after 2 p.m. So I've learned about the benefits of drinking some coffee every day. So I do drink a bit more coffee than before, but I have a really strict rule now of not drinking any kind of caffeinated drinks after 2, including coffee, tea, unless it's like herbal tea with no caffeine. And the reason for that is that caffeine's half-life is around 5 to 6 hours, apparently, which means that 5 to 6 hours after drinking the coffee, there's still half of that caffeine in your body. And so my way of drinking coffee, so if I drink it at 2 and go to bed at 10-ish or 9:30, 10, that means there's still about a quarter of the caffeine in the body. But my kind of way of doing it works because I normally share a cup of coffee with my wife. And so, yeah, it kind of works well for me. And so caffeine or coffee doesn't affect my sleep. The third thing I've changed recently is actually changing my napping habits. So I used to be a person where if I had a poor night's sleep, I would try and take a longer nap during the day. So obviously this is more the weekends than taking a nap on a weekday. But that's what I used to do. And then what I found was that actually it was like a vicious cycle, because when I napped for, let's say, an hour or two during the day, then I'll find it more difficult to sleep on that night. And so, yeah, it didn't really help. So something I now do is instead of taking like an hour-long nap, I use something called non-sleep deep rest, NSDR, or sometimes known as Yoga Nidra. And you can actually find this on YouTube. So again, I'll include something in the show notes. It's listening to this for 15 to 20 minutes, and it puts you into a state of deep rest. It's really magical. Like, you have to try it out for yourself to experience it. So basically what happens is when I feel a bit groggy, like, so if it's like 2 or 3 p.m. And I'm just feeling like, oh no, I really need to sleep, or if I slept really badly the previous night, then what I do is I just lie down, sometimes just on the floor because I don't want to sleep for too long. But then, yeah, I plug in my AirPods, listen to one of these Yoga Nidra recordings, and it is only for 15 to 20 minutes, but somehow I feel really restored after that. And during that time, it does feel like you've gone to sleep. And like I said, that feeling's really magical. You have to experience it for yourself. But I think it's perfect for the workplace as well, because like if you have your own like little cubicle at work, and you can put your head down, and you're feeling like, oh, I really, really need some sleep, then it's only 15 to 20 minutes, and it is really, really good. Right, and finally moving on to the 4 takeaways from today's episode of Sleeping Well. I guess the first one would be maybe try considering small things in your life which might be affecting your sleep. So like I mentioned earlier, the time that you're drinking caffeinated drinks or alcohol, whether you're staring at a screen just before bed, whether you have your phone with you in the bedroom, whether you're checking the time in the middle of the night. So those are never good things to do. So one small thing I do is I try to switch off my phone and leave it in the living room before going up to bed. So I still have access to an iPad in my bedroom. That's more for kind of just watching TV shows or anything if I want to, or even reading. But it has no access to emails, which is quite important because I don't want to be checking my emails just before going to bed. So that's the first thing, like think about the small things in your life which might be affecting your sleep. The second thing is, if you can't fall asleep after about 30 minutes, it's better actually to go to another room and do something that's not too exciting, like reading a boring book or something like that. So we want our brains to associate the bed with sleep. And so if we can't sleep and we just lie there in bed awake, then the brain starts to develop this association so that the bed is a place where you don't sleep. And yeah, apparently counting sheep also doesn't help. The third takeaway would be that sleep is not like a bank where you can accumulate debt during the week and pay it off at the weekend. So when you do it like this, you will always be in sleep debt. And finally, why is sleep one of the first things to be sacrificed when we want to get more done? So if you think about it, when you're busy or when we're busy at work, we sacrifice our sleep. When we want to go out for a night of fun, we sacrifice our sleep. When we're like motivated to achieve our exercise goals, we might wake up early in the morning to hit the gym and sacrifice our sleep. So you get the point. It might be time to really rethink how we treat sleep, and how when we know the benefits of a good night's sleep, how we're trying to prioritize it or not. So that's all for this episode. In the next episode, we'll be looking at part 3 of this mini-series by taking a deeper dive into exercising. I hope you join us again next time on Ordinary Teachers and Students.